Howdy everyone, it's Jake here at Walkie Farm and we are at our Thaguna lease. And this is actually a neighbour's property. We do a bit of mutually beneficial grazing. He's got a horse stud. You can see the shelters and the horses doing racing horses. And this is a back paddock that he sometimes cuts for pasture hay. Very rarely backgrounds a few horses in. Generally it's just a back paddock of his farm that he doesn't use, and he lets me graze it, which is great. Gives us an extra paddock up our sleeve, and it helps him out because he wants the grass kept down, concerned about things like grass fires and snakes and the risk they pose to his farm and horses. And this is the mob. This little paddock here is 1.5 hectares, but they actually get through that gate in the background. See if I can figure out this zoom. I think I figured it out now. There you go. You can see there's some blackberries coming up back there. That back paddock's probably 10 hectares, and they've been there for a couple of weeks. Can't rotate through there too easily. We did set up some water and wire, but the kangaroos kept getting through the wire. Interestingly, we don't have that issue on our block, probably because there's so much more livestock activity. But anyway, I've set up a fence line all the way back to the cattle yards on our property here, which is where those silos are. So we've got about probably a 600 metre walk to do because we're doing yard work with these cattle tomorrow. So I've got a friend of mine, Brett, comes in as a contractor whenever I ask him for some help, and he helps me do the yard work. So if you've read my blogs on our website, we used to run this farm with 2 full-time staff doing 7-day-a-week chores. You know, they had a rotating roster, so on the weekend there was one of them here and a bit of layover during the week. For a multitude of different reasons, we let that go, and we're running it with one casual now. He does a few hours a week. This is a purebred Nguni steer. Isn't he beautiful? His name's Sandy. He's our lead cow. And what I do now when I need a bit of extra skilled labour, I get someone like Brett in. I've got a range of different people I call on for different reasons. Look how your horn's grown. See that yellow inch on the bottom? That's pretty fresh. So you can see by his ear tag, this is how he came from Henhem. He was born in 21, so he's a 3-year-old steer, and that's about as good as you'd get for an Nguni. Any bigger is diminishing return, but I've got a hard time. Edwin said when he sold him to me, you'll have a hard time sending him off. We called him Sandy because his temperament's beautiful, he looks fantastic, and he's a good lead cow. But guys, the reason we're doing yard work tomorrow is we're adjusting our farm plan, I guess you can say. And 3 years ago, I bought these shorthorns here. Bought about 30 of them. I've still probably got about 25 of them. They're about 12-year-old now. You can see their teats are blown up. They got big bottle teats, big old girls. They're heavy cows. And with the feed situation, the dry summer, or the dry year we've had and the lack of feed, I've decided to cull most of them. Just about all of our farm here, this 40 hectares stockpile at the moment, because we graze another lease over the road. Pardon me. Oh, should suck the fly in. Should see. Yuck. Just see how many flies are around. It's the season for it. So the whole farm stockpile, but it's time for these big girls to go for a few reasons. One, they eat a lot of feed. Big old cows. 2, if we're coming into a hard season, there's going to be opportunities. And if you've got grass, you've got options. If you don't have grass, you don't have options. So we're going to pull some levers and keep destocking pretty hard. So what we're going to do tomorrow morning is run these big heavies over the scales. Some of them are real heavy. Some of them are getting close when I've weighed them in the past to 700 kilos. So anything over 600 kilogram live weight is going to have to be sold at the yards. We're not going to be able to put it through the abattoir who does our custom slaughters because too heavy for their chain. So they'll get split out and noted over the scales. And then anything under that, I'm going to put through the local labs and chop up through my butcher shop. And our cut list for them is we'll mince and snag most of them. We'll keep the RG, which is the porterhouse Scotch rump section, and we'll hang it for a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and then we'll cut 1-inch steaks on the bone So we'll do big ribeyes, big T-bone steaks. With an old cow like this, you get a lot of fat, a lot of flavour, a lot of depth, but you also get the potential for a tough, chewy texture that consumers aren't used to. So by letting it hang a few extra weeks, we're letting it soften up and develop. And then by cutting those 1-inch steaks on the bone, we'll be sending out cooking instructions. So we'll be selling it as mature cow, dry-aged cow steaks, and we'll be giving people cooking instructions and instructing people to reverse sear them and let them have a good long rest time after cooking. One of the reasons I've got help in the yards tomorrow is these rodeo cows. I haven't worked through the yards before, but look how high-headed they are. You know, look at this. This is what I bought as the Nguni, and obviously they're crosses. I'd send them off, but the abs will reject the horns, so I'm still figuring out what to do with them. They might just end up being on-site slaughters for personal use. A few of these big heavies have calves afoot. That's okay. They'll stay behind. Rightio, plenty of little calves. I'm not too fussed about marching them up. If they want to follow me up, they can come, but I'm just going to leave this laneway open all day. And this is my dad's property that I lease from my parents, so later on today when he sees them all up in that top yard, which has water and feed in it, he can just flash the gate behind them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they get curious and start following me. Yeah, here they come now. Interestingly, if you look, it's the Nancy, those skittish high-headed rodeo cows that are quite often first up. This paddock here we can graze as well, periodically. They've asked me not to graze it at this stage, but I've actually got a poor boy fence built up. See where the trees are there? That's actually a watercourse, quite a deep, it's a little river, a little creek, but it's essentially a big erosion channel now. And we fenced that out to keep the cattle on this side and the horse on the other side, and that's another little bit of stockpile we got up our sleeve. So really wanting to cash flow my oldest cows. Part of the extra added thinking, why sell them now? They're still breeding back. They're still productive. Well, there's two more reasons. One is I've got a lot of first cross, second cross, third cross Nguni now. So I don't really feel like I need to be hanging on to any more non-Nguni animals. The Nguni genetics is definitely where we're trending to. That's our mission, and I don't need to be breeding any more first crosses. I can cull them, and there is starting to become enough Nguni in Australia that every couple of months there's a few purebred cows for sale, there's some F2 cows for sale, etc. So we'll get rid of these heavies that are under 600 kilos, we'll cash flow them into mince and snag, and we'll put some money in the bank ready to buy those animals when they become available, and then we'll also have the space for them to graze. The second reason is you can sell the heavies for quite good money at the moment. America's had some hard seasons. They've had quite a few hard years in a row in a lot of their big cattle country, and this year seems to be better. That's what I've heard. So they're breeding up and they're trying to build their numbers up again. And what that means is there's not as many animals going through the culling process. So they're buying a lot of our heavy cows and taking that mince and trim over and fueling their burger market. So those heavy animals that are generally not fetching great money are actually fetching really good coin at the moment. So as good a time as ever to get that pressure off the paddocks, and once again cash flow it for some younger cows. Seems like a good deal, right? Those heavies, I could probably sell a 12-year-old heavy shorthorn for a mincer at the moment and buy a F2 Nguni with calf at foot and still have a few dollars left over. A much younger animal too. Everything's dried off, heap of annual rye and barley grass. Got some paspalum and that back paddock, see that green in the distance, a lot of phalaris there. They're camping under the tree and I'm not too interested, but that's okay. Anyway guys, that's me for today. want to thank you for watching. We've just monetized the channel. We've just hit the YouTube thresholds to be able to do that. We will do that. We have done that. If you're not a YouTube Red subscriber, you'll get the odd ad, but this will help us offset, I guess, some of the time that we put into these videos, because even though my videos aren't lavishly edited, it is still time to point and shoot, and I enjoy doing it, but I am a capitalist and think if you can get paid for some value, why not? So thanks for watching. See you next time.